We're coming on air tonight with major breaking news. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and his wife in a plane crash in Tennessee.
It's happening at the Elizabethton Airport. That's in eastern Tennessee near Johnson City. Defender Nathan Morabito live at the breaking news desk with the update. The good news here, Nate, though, is no one was killed.
Yeah, thank goodness for that. But we just saw some video that appears to show someone trying to help Dale Earnhardt Jr. there on the ground. The fire chief in Elizabethton, Tennessee confirmed Earnhardt Jr. and his wife were on this plane that crashed. They are alive. We're told from our sister station in Bristol that he was taken to the hospital. Let's show you some pictures of, we just got in from the scene of this crash. You can see it was a fiery crash. We're told Earnhardt Jr. has been transported to that hospital, as we mentioned. We're unsure of his condition, checking on that right now. The airport manager says a private plane ran off the end of the runway and caught fire. And that's exactly what the Federal Aviation Administration just released to us as well, telling us there were 5 people on that plane in all, including what we have confirmed about the Earnhardts, and what family is saying was the Earnhardt's daughter as well. Everyone is okay, including the 2 pilots who were on that plane as well. Right now in Elizabethton, the sheriff's office is asking people to stay away. Again, this is developing quickly here. A lot of new information going in, but thank goodness we are hearing that everyone who was on that plane is okay. And again, the FAA is saying it caught fire after it landed. So this is something that happened after it was already on the ground.
So, Nate, is it your understanding that Earnhardt Jr. was the only one transported to the hospital, or was everyone taken to the hospital?
That's unclear, Sarah. Right now we know that our NBC station there in Bristol is saying he was definitely taken. And when you watch the video, and we're trying to get it on the air as well, you can see he appears to be in quite some discomfort there laying on the ground. It's unclear if anybody else was taken as a precaution as well.
Hey, Nate, really quickly, what do you know about this plane? We know it's a private plane, probably a smaller plane taking off and landing at a municipal airport. What do we know specifically about the aircraft?
Yeah, this plane is actually a fairly new plane, built in 2015 according to federal records. It's a fixed-wing multi-engine that can seat up to 10 people, registered to Mooresville, North Carolina. And the tail number also kind of references Junior on it. It's NAJR for Dale Jr.
And Nate, also, you used to actually cover this area where this happened. What can you tell us about it specifically?
I think you all asked me if I used to work in that area. I did for 14 years. Let me tell you a little bit about this airport, which is kind of surprising to me that he flew into this airport, because there isn't another airport that flies commercially called Tri-Cities Regional Airport, a short drive away from there. The race is going on up there this weekend, and it's kind of surprising to me that you go into such a small airport where generally you have small aircraft coming in and out. Usually they will fly into the bigger airport there, Tri-Cities Regional. I also want to kind of point out, this is right after you go over the mountains from North Carolina into eastern Tennessee. It's this tiny little, airport with a couple little runways. It's close to Johnson City, Kingsport, and Bristol, not very far from Bristol Motor Speedway, but the actual airport that most of the drivers will generally fly into is Tri-Cities Regional, which is not that far away as well.
All right, Nate, we do want to read this tweet that we are just now seeing from Kelley Earnhardt. Of course, when we pop it up on the screen, it's too small for me. So she is saying, I can confirm Dale, Amy, and Isla, along with his 2 pilots, were involved in a crash in Bristol, Tennessee this afternoon. Everyone is safe and has been taken to the hospital for further evaluation. We have no further information at this time. Thank you for your understanding. So this is the development. This is new information that their daughter actually was on the plane with them, and it seems they all have been transported to the hospital. We don't know about injuries, but hopefully it's just precautionary that they're taking them to the hospital.
And we want to continue our team coverage now with our sports director, Nick Carboni. He joins us live on the phone.
So Nick, we know from your coverage in the past that Dale Jr. is an aviation enthusiast.
Well, yeah, a lot of these NASCAR drivers and folks associated with NASCAR, maybe to touch on what Nate was saying, why this airport, they fly in and out of very small airports on private planes all the time. You go to Charlotte Motor Speedway, there's helicopter pads right outside the track. So that doesn't surprise me, especially with the race being in Bristol this weekend, Saturday night. Dale Jr. is part of the NBC sports family. And he's mentioned in the past, that his kind of way of getting around is not been commercial. It's been on private planes. and it's just something he's felt is more comfortable for him because he does have to fly so much just to get around the NASCAR circuit, even now as a broadcaster.
We were all holding our breath when this news came across because of the history with the Earnhardt family. I'm sure that a lot of fans, and I've been reading through a lot of tweets, Nick, that you know, people are obviously saying their prayers and happy at this preliminary news that Dale and his wife are alive and taken to the hospital. But this is at the forefront of people's memories. This crash that happened with Senior and the impact that it had on the entire NASCAR family and the sport and what followed in safety measures. So of course this is something that is close and dear to NASCAR fans as a whole.
So right now we're looking at video. Someone, I believe a viewer sent this in. This is actually Dale on the ground getting treated before he was transported to the hospital. Brad, I know you've been talking to a lot of people over there. You work a lot with NASCAR. Do you know?
Yeah, one of my former interns, he's a pilot. He's actually at the track right now, and he works in that market as well. And he was telling me that they were all safe, but he did say that Dale was transported, and he said he thought it was precautionary. But looking at the video, it looks like almost looks like kind of a whiplash kind of thing, like maybe the jostling. And he said the same thing. He said the plane landed. It was a rough landing, and then looking at the pictures that he was showing me, it looked like the fuel tanks were ruptured on the landing because they spilled into a nearby creek, and there was flames underneath this creek and this culvert, and then all over the place. So they were able to get off real quickly. I will echo what Nate said. It's kind of a weird airport to fly into over there because typically this is well south of Bristol, and it's also well east of the Tri-Cities airport, which is normally the airport they go into. So I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the FAA records or anything. If this was an emergency landing, they were on their way to the Tri-Cities, because this airport is actually in between where you would take off here and then land in the Tri-Cities. It's just over Lake Watauga, if you know where that area is, just on the other side of Boone. Watauga County, it's over on the Tennessee side. So they were just coming over the mountains, and this would have been the first airport they would have passed on the way to the Tri-Cities airport.
Yeah. So possibility something could have been happening.
Yeah, it might have been an emergency, because this is not a big airport. This is not normal operating procedure for them to fly into Bristol. They would have flown over there. And as we know, Dale, he works for NBC Sports, and he was likely on his way over there early to start working on some of the pre-production stuff ahead of time as he got ready for the race this weekend, which is Saturday night at Bristol Motor Speedway.
So scary. They were on there, though, with their whole family and little girl, and thank goodness they're okay, of course.
You're right. Looking at the pictures, it's amazing that they got out of there in a hurry, and whoever got them off that plane did an amazing job before it burst. That's why you get off as soon as they tell you when you're in one of these emergency landings.
Wow. Of course, we'll continue to work this story all evening long. We have a crew heading to the scene. We'll have more coverage coming up at 5:30 and in our 6 o'clock newscast.